equations for this chapter. I feel like this is the one people like the most. They find it the easiest. So let's just go over what this equation means. So you see x minus h and y minus k equals r squared. Okay, with that, obviously this parenthesis squared, that parenthesis squared. Well, in a circle, we have what's called the center of the circle. The center of the circle is known as the point HK. So we're talking about now graphing a circle like on the coordinate plane. So HK represents similar to an ordered pair. We did this in Algebra 1. I don't think you guys got to it last year, but it was what was called the vertex form of a parabola. It had H and K in it. But main thing to know is this is just the point that's the center of the circle. R stands for radius. So to write the equation of the circle, we're going to take the ordered pairs and plug them into those spots. So the 5 is the H, and the K is the 3. So this answer would be x minus 5 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals r squared. So 4 squared would be 16. And that is all you have to do to write the equation, is plug in the H, the K, and the R. On this one, we have, this is H, this is K, so we have x minus 3 squared plus, when you have y minus negative 2, a minus and negative, we're going to change that to plus when we subtract a negative. And when you take a square root and you square it, you could try it on your calculator, but squaring a square root just comes out to that number, 47. And that's why sometimes later on when we talk about how to find the radius, we're going to leave it in square root form. We're not going to simplify it. We're not going to make a decimal or anything, because when you square a square root, you just get that number. Whereas if we had made this a decimal, then our answer would be a really weird decimal here too. Alright, so we have H and K. Again, minus a negative 4, we're going to change that to plus 4. Y minus a negative 6 makes plus 6. And this one, key here, it says diameter is 18. But we need the radius squared. So r would equal 9. So 9 squared is 81. So watch that. Sometimes I might give you the radius, it might give you the diameter. Just watch for things like that. This next one, you would have x minus 2 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals, again they gave me a diameter, so the radius for this one equals 3, and 3 squared would be 9. The reason I wanted to show you this is because most of the time when you see a simplified version of this, if it's minus 0, they just leave that one off, like, because y minus 0 would just give you y. So if you're ever given a situation where like it doesn't have a parenthesis around the x or the y, it means that value next to it was just a 0. So this is still your center of 2, 0. There's just nothing with the y, so that's why it's 0. Alright, given a picture, you want to look at the picture and see if you can figure out where the middle is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6 would be the diameter, no matter where you count up, down, or left to right. So this point here would be what I call the center of the circle. That point is, so I would say the center is 1, 0. And I'd say this one has a radius of 1, 2, 3. So now I have enough information to write this. X minus 1 squared plus, again, y minus 0, we're just going to write y squared equals 3 squared, which is 9. It's a little bit harder to tell. You try to find the biggest part of the circle. That's 10 across. So that should be the middle of the circle. That point would be at center -2, 2. It has a radius of 5. So my equation would look like x minus -2 makes this become plus 2 plus y minus 2 squared equals 25 because we're squaring the radius. Alright, so that's how to write an equation given a picture or given the exact values. This one, though, says given a point on the circle and the center of the circle. So we don't know the radius, we don't know the diameter, so we have to figure that out. So if you have a center point and a point on the circle, that's called the radius. So we need to figure out how long this is. To figure out how long that is, you have to use the distance formula to find a radius. You need the distance formula. So that is x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Oh, those are supposed to be y's. Okay. So, again, distance formula is something we practice a lot. I want to find the distance from the center to the edge. And I did 9 minus 7, you can do 7 minus 9, doesn't matter. This gives us 2 squared is 4, 10 minus 4 is 6, 6 squared is 36, so you get the square root of 40. Now this is where I was saying, let's just leave it the square root. We don't need to simplify it, we don't want a decimal here, we're just going to leave it exactly like that. Because, using your center point, we're going to write the equation. And if this is your radius, and you square the square root of 40, you just get equals 40. This one again gives us a center to the edge, so we're going to use our distance formula just to practice. -2 minus -9, 0 minus 4. That's 7 squared is 49. -4 squared is positive 16. So that makes square root of 65. So again, you have to use the center point with the radius to find this answer. Again, if it's y minus 0, I'm just going to write y squared. And square root of 65 squared is 65. That's writing an equation given a center point and the edge point. Alright. Let's do a little bit of review from the past. What is the area formula? Area equals pi r squared. Circumference equals 2 pi r. Or you could do pi times diameter. Either one's fine. So this is given to you in what's called pi form. This is write the equation of a circle. Well, first we have to have a center and a radius. We have a center, but we don't have the radius. So we're wanting to solve for the radius. So take your area formula. Okay, and set what it says the area is equal to. If you want to solve for the radius, you would divide pi to both sides. If you divide by pi, we get r squared equals 25. And to find the value of r, you square root that. So square root of 25 is 5. Once you have the r, we're going to write the equation using our center point. Minus 3 squared plus y minus -5, so we'll make that a plus. And then your radius squared would be 25. So again, the reason people leave it in the form of pi, because it does make it easier to solve like for a radius. This one, they gave us circumference formula. The circumference is 2 pi r. The reason I'm using that one is just because I want the radius. If you want to do diameter one, that's fine. So to get r by itself, you'll divide this by 2 pi. So the pi's cancel out, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. This one has a radius of 3. So the equation x minus 1 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals the r squared, which would be 9. This time, they're going to give you the equation, and they want you to work backwards. Can you pick out what is the center and what is the radius? So remember, the center is located behind that minus sign. So this center would be 5, 2. And to find the radius, you have to square root that last number. So we'll say the radius is 8. Remember, when this one doesn't have any numbers with it, you know the center is going to be 0, comma something. So we have to know, though, it's always behind the minus sign, so we look back at what made this become a plus sign. What changes it to a plus sign if that was a negative 1? If you had minus a negative 1, that's what makes it become plus. And then if you take the square root of 5, that's a decimal. So we're just going to say r equals the square root of 5. The last one is just a graphing question. I just want to make sure we have an idea. If you had to graph one of these, you graph your center point first. So start here. So 1, 2, 3, negative 2. And then you count your radius in 4 directions, basically. Count, we'll say right, left, up, and down. Let's go to the right 4. We're going to go down 4 or left 4. And then you're going to do the best that you can to kind of try and round that out. Now I have to do this with a pencil because I'm not very good at this part. But we're going to try and make those 4 points into like the shape of a circle. To the best of your ability. That's not too bad of a circle. Alright. The idea is we're trying to make that shape look like a circle, that those represent the outside points. So to graph the center, from that center count the radius,